Welcome to One More Thing podcast. This morning, we're with Dr. Larry Baucom.
Good morning.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Heard the trip was amazing.
It was. The temperatures in Ireland were delightful. Low of about 50, high of about 62. So, a lot of rain, though.
All right.
They call it the Emerald Island for a reason, because it's so green. But it was delightful to wear a jacket for a change.
Yeah, very different than our current situation here.
Yeah, here we don't wear a jacket. Yeah, we try to just turn the air down as hard as we can.
That's what it'll push, man. No, it was great to hear you back on stage. Week 2 of Rumors, and I was wondering where you were going to go with that. The rumor of things are always changing at Suncoast, but yet we live in a culture that very much dislikes change. But you took a spin on it, which I thought was brilliant. Yeah, we do change. We change our minds a lot around here, like from a theological perspective, but it's not like that really impacts a lot of things people see around.
Right.
But the way you spun it was, you said the one thing that we want to change often is our hearts.
Right.
Like explain why transformation here at Suncoast is like sort of our bottom line.
Yeah, I think that change is what happens from within. I don't need a pastor or a preacher yelling at me and scaring me into changing my life, because, the foxhole and the fear factor does not really truly change anyone.
Right.
But I think that things are always changing here. I think our perspective does change, but what it leads to is our hearts are changing. I think we really are, as pastors. I mean, for me, I don't think the same way I did 10 years ago.
That's right.
I'm approaching things from a different perspective. I think academically I've always been in that arena. I just haven't been as outspoken about it as much as I am now. But now, these days, I'm like, hey, we got to get the word out. Christianity in our country has really taken a hit. There's so many things. People have been manipulated for years, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that we need to do the best we can. I appreciate when they do the best they can with what they know.
Right.
And I tell every pastor in town, you do the best you can with what you know. But I also need to tell myself,
Yep.
I need to do the best I can with what I know, and the best I can is to help people realize it is the presence of God in you that can change who you are.
That's right.
And as He changes us, we get more kind, less of a thug,
Yep.
less abrasive, even though we are abrasive. But, sometimes it seems like we have to keep going back to that time of reflection and connection. Yep. And the change happens, and those rough edges are sanded off in some measure as we grow older and wiser.
Yep.
And more reflect the image of God in our lives.
That's awesome. I think for me personally, and I think it resonated with a lot of people, as we talked about, things are always changing at Suncoast, and hopefully the biggest change would be in you. And you talked about how we should change our prayer life. And swing, pop. Man, that got me like right in the heart.
Yeah.
And as I reflected on that, even throughout the day, that was just absolutely masterful, because swing, pop. God, swing. And He's like, we'll swing later, but unless we address this now.
Right.
So take us back to that idea of how does the prayer life of a person need to change from this very need-based immediacy to this long range.
I think, in using the analogy of Colin when he was 2.5, he's sleepy, and if you didn't hear the sermon, you maybe go back and watch it. But he's wants to swing. Of course, as his grandfather, I swing him, and he gets tired. And he's starting to fall asleep. He's sitting there getting drowsy.
Yep.
And finally, I pull him off because I realized this is it's time to take a nap. And but he's crying, saying, swing, pop, swing. What he really wants, I want the joy of the immediate.
Yes.
And I want this now. So don't take me out of this great place, even though I may fall asleep and fall off and hurt myself in a minute.
Right.
But, the care is to understand a little better perspective about what he needs.
Yeah.
Tied to our prayer lives, so many times we want the immediate. I want what I think is right for me, what's good for me, and I determine all those things. And I'm just like a little kid saying, swing. I just want to keep swinging. It's fun in the immediate. But down the road, we need to make sure we're well rested, we're well fed, we're healthy, and we want to grow into our as a human to be an adult, and now that kid is now 18 years old in college in the university. But so many of us stay in that same swing mode. Swing. My prayers are swing. God, give me what I want now. I need this.
Yeah.
I need an extra $50, or I need a new car, or I need a better boat, or I need a better whatever,
Right.
or I'm in a relationship that's not doing well, and I've created a lot of this drama.
Right.
But
right.
swing, Pop, just get me out of this. God, just deliver me from all the stupid things that I do to myself.
Yep.
And I think that growth is simply going, God cares about my whole life, and in the many decisions I make today, if I start in the zone, I think I stay in the zone. I stay within the parameters of saying, hey, God, you've got this, and I'm with you, and we're going to do this together. And it doesn't mean we're not going to stub our toe.
Right.
It doesn't mean we're not going to have some hiccups, and some days we'll be, trying the swing again.
That's it.
You get it figured out, and then tomorrow you got to figure it out again. So that's part of the change.
And I loved how that story bled into that final and remarkable point of joy should be the experience despite the circumstance. And if your prayer life and your inner reflection is not the swing,
Right.
but the develop in me, God, who I need to be, then I can experience joy in spite of hardships.
Right.
Like why is that? Because it's so counterintuitive, right? It's so counterintuitive. But why is that true, Dr. Baucom? Why is that true that I can have joy even if I've gotten the worst news, even if my marriage is died, even if, these things?
I think we realize that we don't have to go alone, first of all. The joy comes in the companionship. That when everything else abandons me, he never will. And I always have something in my life. So what about riches or fame or relationships? Yeah, they can come and go.
Yeah.
But my connection with God is paramount. And it's amazing when I get that arranged better, it seems like the other flows, but not always. Remember
Right.
Job? We have to stay in that. And I've had a few surgeries. I'd love to tell you that. Oh, because of my connection with God, I've never had rotator cuff surgery twice, one on each shoulder. And I didn't have heart ablation. But here's every time I went in that, I'd just go, I'm with you, God. And he walked with me through the surgeries, through the recoveries, and everything. I think God is with me. And do I like these things? Not really. I'd rather not have them.
Yeah.
But I don't go alone. And there's the comfort, and there's the growth. And that's the thing that I have today that I may not have always had my entire life, is this realization, man, I'm with God and he is with me.
Yeah.
And this oneness that I have with God is, instead of a dualistic type thing.
That's right.
It's this unity or this oneness, non-dual,
That's
whatever
right.
form or word you want to use. But I think that's a game changer for me.
That is. It's like, you've talked about your rotator cuff surgeries and how painful those things are. And you said that yesterday in the sermon, that joy is not the feeling, because I'm guaranteed it probably didn't feel good.
No.
But if joy is not comprised of those feelings or those emotions, but it's a level of certainty that isn't based on propositions, propositional truth or whatever. It's this truth that God's in you, God is with you. And why, this is my last question, why do some people, because I struggle with this, because I feel I have God's joy in me. I live very far from my children. It's not the best ideal scenario, but I still feel joy. I still feel happy and content knowing that, and it's like one of the songs we sing, maybe here is where you want me,
Right.
Maybe I'm right where you want me to be. And there's that sense of, man, God is with me even 1,000 miles from my children. And people will look at that and it's so strange to them. Like it's almost gets misconstrued as you just don't care about anything.
Right.
Where, no, I care deeply, but I'm not going to let that situation deter me from my identity and
Right.
who I know I am and who I know God is. Like, how do you respond to people who just misconstrue that joy for something that's, I don't know if that's a question or not.
Well, I think it's perspective.
Right.
For me, it still goes back to perspective. In my time of reflection, I have this time of connection, which we just spent weeks on that, and I'm still reflecting and connecting. And people would say, well, but I want, and I want, and I want. And I would just go, yeah, they're in the swing pop mode.
Yeah.
That's what they want, and they want it. They think they know best, but I confess I don't know best. But what I do know is that God's with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best.
That's the best.
So no matter what comes up today, whether it's health or relational issues or jobs, whatever, I do know that God is in the center of who I am, and I'm in the center of Him, and all these other things will be okay.
Yeah.
I just got to. I'm on the journey. And, it's not just today. Someone says, I'm not feeling well, my back hurts. Guess what? You're on the journey. Well, I only have $40 to make. Yeah, but guess what? God's with you when you only have a limited amount of resource.
Yeah.
But you'll get more resource. Your world will change. Your circumstance will change. Tread water.
Yep.
Don't drown.
That's right.
Tread water. Trust the buoyancy of God, and you'll be okay.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Baucom.
My pleasure.